Hello, thank you for joining us today. My name is Jesse Almodovar, and today I'll be cutting our model, Steven. Now Steven, today we'll be doing a detached haircut, which will be formed into a Pompadour side part. We want to thank Steven for being here. We also want to thank Xclusive Barber Supply for letting us use their facility to shoot this video for the Andy's Clipper Company. Let's go ahead and get started. In today's haircut, we'll be using 3 of Andy's cordless clippers. The first one I'll be using is the BGR Plus series, detachable blade model. Because it's detachable, because it's cordless, I am free of motion from the wall. And so for barbers that are on the go, or for those that are just at the shop, you can move around with the freeness without being attached to the cord. The other cordless clipper that we're going to be working with today is the Super 120 Ions. The ionic battery for long-lasting life for 2 hours, hence the 120. And it also is very lightweight and ergonomic, so it's very comfortable in my hand without putting a lot of fatigue on the joints. And to do our cleanup work, we're going to be using the Andy Slimline Pro. Again, very ergonomic, lightweight trimmer, but yet with the power of the rotary motor, can clean up with very good effectiveness. The nice good thing about this the Slimline Pro also is that it can be 0 gaps for, I know the barbers that like it very, very tight. The blade can come off and be gapped that way as well. So let's go ahead and get started with Steven. For this cut, what I usually try to do is start with the bulk on top. We could do the side work as well, but I'm going to go ahead and start with the top and just take a little off the top using a clipper over finger technique. I like to make sure that your client is hair is nice and wet. So it's nice and evenly wet throughout the whole cut. And since we know that for this hairstyle, we're going to be flipping it up and over at the end, you want to be careful on how you over direct your hair. You don't want to bring it too forward and then cut this way at the length. You want to bring it at least at a 90-degree angle, if not further back, depending on how high you want your Pompadour effect to be. I'll be attaching my triple aught blade to the BGR Plus in one hand, with the blade facing me and my comb in the other. Comb forward, again, we're going to bring up, straight up. Bring it to the side a little bit so you can see. It'll be straight up in front, and come right, cut just a little bit. This maneuver is, you do have to get used to a little bit, just like you would if you were using your clipper over shears and your fingers. That same technique that took a little bit of time to learn, this might be new for a lot of people. So using this particular way of cutting might take a little bit to get used to. You have your clippers in one hand, you still have your comb in the other. That's what you'd be usually flipping back and forth. So to have it stationary in one, it kind of just makes it easier and less going back and forth through your hands, which is kind of a nice technique to use. And because I have my blade so close to my hand, I don't have to worry about swinging around and hitting him in the face or hitting it and messing up the rest of the cut. So if you hold it on the bottom, makes it nice and easy. Place it at your comb in your fingers like that. And the same thing when you get to this particular side part. You do want this a little bit longer so it can be detached. And that's what makes it a detached haircut. This is going to be extremely short, whereas in this side, we're actually going to be blending this side together so it has a nice flow and blend at this side. So when you are doing this side, make sure that your angle isn't so much so that it's taking off too much hair. The way we want his pomp to be at the end, that length will add a little bit more height to that cut. So I think I'm done with the top. I'm going to go ahead and work at the bottom. Since I do have my triple aught already on here, I'm going to go ahead and start with a lower fade. Now this fade is going to come pretty high, but the actual balding part of it is going to actually be on the lower side. You'll notice that I do drop down around the ear, but not in a hard drop. It's not going to be that low of a cut, but it will still be slightly angled back towards the nape section, below the occipital bone. Now for this particular haircut, I am going to show you a technique of putting in levels that I feel helps, especially if you're just starting off with doing fades. Sometimes when you're fading as you go, what could happen is if you don't know which level it is on one side compared to the other, you can end up tilting the fade just a little bit. So as I come up, it is kind of a straight up motion to take off a lot of that bulk, but right at the end I will be using a C motion or flick motion to kind of make sure that that line is not hard put in. It'll be a little bit easier on the back end to take out, even though you're putting in the levels. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and grab my OA blade. Again, I'm going to start on the side. Now, normally you wouldn't really do that much traveling around your chair. The chair does move; it circles around for a reason. So go ahead and use that to your advantage as you're cutting. Less fatigue on your legs throughout the day. If you're in a barber shop or if you're in a beauty shop, salon, you don't want to. You're already using a lot of your body to stand up, so might as well cut down on what you can, where you can. So these two clips are pretty close. The line is almost gone from the 000. Probably won't come out completely, but that's okay. We're going to come back and clean it up a little bit later. And for the beginners, that's okay. Again, to keep yourself on a level plane, it makes it nice so when you come back down and clean it up, you still know where you can keep that fade completely even on both sides. After I went up about 1/4 inch, I am going to switch to my 1. And so you can see that what I'm doing, I'm going back and forth. Going back and forth. When you're making those revolutions, you can kind of know where you are instead of jumping all around. You do one side, fade it up, do the other side, try to fade it up. Again, that can, although that's a technique that if you want to use, that's okay, but that can contribute to an uneven fade at the end. So again, about 1/4 inch up with your 1 blade. I'm going to go ahead and attach let me go ahead and attach the 1A because I have it available to me. Depending on what you have, you might not have all these clips. So some of them might be missing in your set. You might just have a 1, a 1.5, or 2. And you can still do those levels. Those sections might be a little bit bigger depending on the jump, and then you can come back and fade them out if needed with an adjustable clipper like the ions, or if you have the masters or fades or envies, to go ahead and use an adjustable clipper to take out the fade. For 1A, we'll go to a 1.5. So now that we're done with the 1A, I'll go ahead and attach my 1.5 clip, detachable blade to the BGRs. And again, depending on your haircut, you might These levels might be a little bit different. For normal fade, mid fade, you might not be this high. So that all depends as you continue to grow in your career. You'll know what type of fade you're doing, how high to bring it, which is nice. Show you what's going on back here in the back. So we're almost getting into the parietal ridge area. As I start to move up in the haircut, my C motion will be a little bit more dramatic instead of taking it straight bowl cut at the end. Now, because we are doing a detached haircut on this particular side, once I'm done with this particular revolution, I will come back and knock down a little bit more there so it has complete detachment. As you can see, compared to this side, I am gonna do a lot more flicking because we are gonna blend that in with a clipper over comb technique. So while we are on the top, I'm gonna take that down. I want to make sure the hair is nice and wet. Some people like to put clips on the side to make sure that it's not going to come over. So as you can see in this area right here, we're going to make sure that all those hairs come all the same level. And I am going to go ahead and do that with, for this particular haircut, I am going to do that with the 2 attachable guard or clip. So to do that maneuver, again, you want to make sure either you do have a clip in if you want to, or wet the hair. Some people actually will put a little bit of gel just to make sure it holds. Usually I just find that if you wet it and lay it over, for the most part you should be okay. It does require a little bit of a steady hand to get that straight line though. But if you do see any fine little baby hairs sticking out, we'll go ahead and touch that up right at the end and make sure that all the little hairs are sticking down. But we're going to make sure that this fade is complete. We're going to work our way up with the levels and then come back down and do any kind of adjustments we need with the fade. So now that I'm at this area where I'm blending from the long hair to the short, this particular area I'm going to use a clipper over comb technique. I'm going to go ahead and reattach my triple-aught blade to the clippers. And since Steven has blonder hair, I am going to go, well, it's dirty blonde. It's really kind of dark right at the moment. But I am going to use a black comb. You want to have contrasting colors to see as much as possible to take out that bulk in the haircut. Again, I know that I'm not going to come straight over with this cut, so you got to be careful with cutting off too much length here. I am going to kind of comb it back into the direction that needs to be cut, so I don't cut off the wrong hair. So I'll just comb it down. We're going to come back straight up. I'm going to take down a little bit of this back area here, make sure that this blends in as well. Okay. So that area seems nice and blended together from the length and the top. And we can go ahead and we'll play with this a little bit more at the end if you feel like you need to blend it a little bit more, but that seems good for right now. So we'll go ahead and use our Supras 120s to go ahead and we'll kind of readjust and kind of go back down. If you're the type that likes to just use your BGRs or whatever detachable clippers to fade completely, that's a very good technique to use too. Many have come to like that. It's a lot faster. You don't have to worry about the clips coming back and forth as far as fading. But I do want to introduce this as well because I know a lot of barbers still do use an adjustable blade. So this is a nice tool to work with. Again, because it's cordless, it frees you of being attached to the wall. As I'm doing this particular movement right here, I knew this was a 2. So I'm going from a 2 to a 1.5. So I do attach my 1 guard to the Supras. I mean, I'm using the Andes Purple magnetic guards. I have slightly modified them so they can fit on the Supras, but the Supra does come with 4 attachable guards, comb guards to fit on this that come in the case that you can use as well. Always keep your cool care close. So with my 1 guard attached, I am going to open up my Supras all the way to the 1 position. So that gives me about a 1.5. And again, with a flicking motion, I'm going to take out any bulk weight that I see in that section. The Supras do go from a 4-0 to a 1 position. I am going to try to cut on the side a little bit more. I'm so used to working with the mirror, which is something that you do want to get used to if you are doing a fade. Your mirror is your friend. It tells you all the secrets, what you've missed, the little bulk areas that you're going to do. The other thing some people use is your camera. You're going to like this haircut, you're going to want to put it on Instagram, you want to show it off. The camera doesn't lie. It's going to show you every little area that you need to work on. So go ahead and the area that I just did from the 2 to a 1.5 is blended down. So now I'm going to go back down from the 1 area to the 1A or 1 area. So from, again, 1.5 to a 1. That level is pretty suffice. So your Supras do open up to a 1. So you'll see a little bit of a weight line still here. So you can go ahead and knock that out in the open position. As your skills as a barber or stylist for doing fades, get better and better, you pick up a lot of knowledge from the different people that you look up to or people that you meet in your continuing education classes. And there is a technique that a lot of barbers do use where they are picking up their blade or putting their blade to the side just a little bit. And I honestly didn't have a word for that. I didn't know what you could call that. But thank you to Kenny Duncan for coming up with a specific name for that technique or usage. Your clipper calibration, you can get still a different look or feel from your clippers as you lift up or rake, or even when you clump to the side and use the side of your clipper. So a lot of us will do that unknowingly, knowingly, because that's how you get the fade nice. But I appreciated learning from him a little bit more about that technique, not only the technique, but actually having a name for the technique, since a lot of us do the technique and without knowing that we were doing it. Okay. Okay. So with this particular cut, I do have a 5/0 clip that will be attached to my BGR models. We're just going to get a little closer on the bottom. You could use your trimmers for this as well. A lot of people do. But thankfully, we do have an outliner blade and a 5/0 blade that get extremely close. You don't have to put the wear and tear on your trimmers and do this particular movement. Use your trimmers for outlining. That's what they're made for. Leave the big bulk cuts for the bigger tools. So it's well worth the investment. All right, now that we're done with Steven's cut, or at least the fade part, we are going to do a nice little edge up around the side using our Slimline Pros. So I'm almost styling the hair where it's going to be at for the style part. And not everybody will like a nice front edge, but we do that on Steven. So we're going to go ahead and do that today. A nice sharp edge up in front. Remember to try to keep your edge up as natural as possible, unless otherwise instructed in your client consultation that I'm sure everybody is doing. And if you're not doing a client consultation at the beginning when you're first running into a customer or learning about them, you should. It's going to prevent a lot of headaches, and it's going to start to build a rapport between you and that client. Ask them questions. Remember, especially if it's your first time doing them or second time or whatever, get the reminders from them. It helps them to feel very involved in their haircut, which is a good thing. You don't want to turn a person around or finish with a haircut and that's not what they wanted. So client consultation is very vital to our procedure, whether you're a barber or a cosmetologist. So after doing a little bit of beard work on Steven, trimming that up, doing a little bit of touch-up work on his fade, we're going to go ahead and add your favorite styling product, whatever that might be. You don't need much. You could do a classic Pompadour look with this. I know with Steven, we like to do a little bit more of a edgier look, not so combed down. All right. So after doing that, here you have your finished end product. A nice fade, a detached haircut with a modern Pompadour look on the top. We thank you guys again for joining us. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to make this video for you as well. Again, we want to thank also Xclusive Barber Supply for helping us come here and put the video together at your location. So again, thank you very much. My name is Jesse. This is Steven, our hair model. Have a great day.